See, today's session is all about business communication in the evolved dynamics of business. So let's just start with our introduction. Now, when we say definition of digital communication, now if you look at definition of digital communication, we can very clearly say that exchange of information through digital platforms and devices like emails or messaging, which is instant messaging nowadays, social media, which is very prevalent, and any setup which is empowering and enabling us for video conference, right? All these forms are now real time. You can check email पे तो आज की डेट में आप ये भी चेक कर सकते हैं कि जो जिसको आपने ईमेल किया वो रियल टाइम में वो उसको चेक कर लिया है या नहीं किया है, राइट? रीड किया है नहीं किया है, व्हाट्स द स्टेटस, राइट? सो रियल टाइम asynchronous multimedia and of course without a second thought कि इसका reach जो है, I think from one corner you can access, right, to any part of globe, right? So with global reach. So that's the definition now, when it comes to digital age communication. इसका कोर अगर हम देखें, what it brings to the table, effective communication, digital communication, what it brings to the table. Number one, efficiency. Number two, it enhances collaboration, right? Business communication through these mediums, of course, gives you greater accessibility, greater flexibility, right? Anywhere, anytime. And then it, of course, empowers work-life balance because that's how this entire transformation has happened. Now let's check on how the evolution of business communication has happened. Now, again, when we talk about evolution, there is a traditional communication method which had been the case in the past, and how it has got transitioned to the new, which is shifting to the digital communication, which we are talking about and we are accustomed to now. Now, if we delve it into this a little more and we take the first aspect, traditional communication method. So face-to-face meetings, phone calls, written communications, printed documents, PDFs, and whatnot. So all these used to comprise the traditional communication method, which we have all experienced. I think the shift is basically from which we have registered, right? The evolution, right? We're talking about evolution. So the जो traditional communication methods, वहां से now we have shift and transition to a completely new paradigm of business communication, right? In which there's a lot of emailing, there's a lot of instant messaging. If you have iPhone, to want real time, iMessage, which is real time, right? And even the other, equipment that we have, there are real-time instant messaging. Then, of course, the voice conferencing, social media. I think hardly any business is there who does not have a presence on social media. So, on this, we tried exploring what is there in the shift and how we are saying the shift is. Now, let's check on the key tools and the technologies which have been so strongly connected in each of the business which we are checking out. Now let's check on email. Email is something which is a service which is very, very frequently and widely used, right, for by most of the employees of that scale. Instant messaging, which is like Slack, a very frequently popularly known. Teams, again, very collaborative and very popularly known. फिर अब जैसे वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस है, सो वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस सर्विसेज में वेबएक्स बहुत ही पॉपुलरली यूज्ड है, एंड other than that, Zoom, of course, that's there, and these are the services which are very, very frequently used. Then comes the social media. Now social media, it's all about more professional, and which is LinkedIn. I think there's hardly any enterprise who does not have a LinkedIn page. And LinkedIn page is something which gives an enterprise its brand, digital brand enterprise, where your employer, right, has an engagement. Along with that, even the external stakeholders, whosoever is there, right, can have a real time connect and exchange. So this is how the social media is playing a role as far as key tools and technology. And then the project management. So project management, few tools which are very frequently used is Trello and Asana. And both of these are very, very efficiently, say, e-commerce enterprise like, Flipkart. They use Trello in order to visualize उनका workflow कैसा है, उनके delivery mechanism, all this, so that कोई भी transaction है can be tracked, right, internally by their team. वो कहाँ पे पहुंचा है, what's the status, and it's all real time, right? So these are the last set of key tools and technologies when it comes to business communication in the digital age, right? Email, instant messaging, video conference, social media, project management. So, okay, so let's move to delve a little more in few of these, right? And let's start with email messaging. Now, email messaging, we are very clear. There are three aspects when it comes to email messaging. Number one is the best practice, right? What we are supposed to, right? And again, I'm not going to go into the details of it. I'm sure we all know that we need to, number one, उसमें subject line बहुत ही prominent होना चाहिए, and it has to speak what I'm actually looking at. So that's number one. Number two is it has to have a professional tone of what I'm trying to say, right? Then number three, it has to have a very concise and clear and a focused content, right? मेरी expectations क्या है with the person to whom I'm addressing that email. It has to have a very proper and an appropriate structure, and conclusively, before sending, we do a proofread. So these are basic elements, and I'm again not getting into the details. I'm assuming that we all are seasoned professionals, right? और हम सबको ये पता है कि ये best practices when it comes to email. Then email etiquette is something which again I'm assuming that we must be very familiar with, right? कि उसमें जैसे respectful greetings है, हम कैसे greet कर रहे हैं, what we are saying, dear Miss or dear Miss, how we are using it. Number two, how it is placed in terms of time, right? किस तरह का timing हम use कर रहे हैं. If all we are sending somebody in email at 12:30 in midnight, I think these are etiquettes which we are supposed to follow, right? Because if at all we are expecting timely response, right, or revert to our email, then we need to be taking care of all these checks and balances, right? CC, BCC, किसको करना है, किसको नहीं करना है. Again, this is an email etiquette, and it has to be appropriately checked. Who has to be copied? Who has to be blind copied, right? और उसमें capitals, caps, कितना excess punctuation है नहीं है, and all those checks. And finally the attachments and attachment का size क्या है, right? How seamless is that? What versions or draft or document version we are using? Are we using a PDF? Are we using a Word document, PPT? What's that size? So these are again email etiquettes, again largely assuming that we all are very familiar with this, right? And since I'm assuming this, a well-crafted mail is something I'm assuming I need not to kind of show you, and absolutely confident that we all know what a standard email is, right? Because we are using it. Now let's move to the next aspect of this, and that's instant messaging. Now, instant messaging is something which again has picked up a lot of pace, क्योंकि कुछ enterprises में अब जैसे OTP है, that's instant messaging, right? Most of the business, an entire banking and financial services industry is actually running on an instant messaging, because without OTP, that business can't even assume to run. अब instant messaging के कुछ benefits हैं, कुछ drawbacks. Benefit क्या है? Of course, it's a real time, immediate response, and instant messaging है. Number two, team collaboration, because once you are integrated, you can very very efficiently collaborate. And number three, at times it may be treated as an informal communication, right? अगर हम drawbacks देखें, so the real benefits, real time communication, team collaboration, of course, because that leads to team collaboration, and number three, informal communication, right? Then on the contrary, drawbacks में एक तो distraction है, because anything which is this, right, which is, अगर आप unlikely to email देखें, right, where if at all we are reading email, assume that then we are reading and we are just reading that email. But in case of messaging, it becomes a little, the chances are much higher that you may get distracted. Number two, it has a limit to the information which is going to be shared, right? तो उसमें अगर थोड़ा सा भी information overload हुआ to the content and the quality of information which is supposed to be shared, it will fail its purpose, right? And number three is, of course, the security concerns, right? It has its own security concerns which are there. So these are the drawbacks when it comes to instant messaging, right? Now let's move. And again, as I said, use case in business, as we mentioned, बहुत हैं. आप Zomato देख लो, आप Swiggy देख लो, the entire business runs on this. The entire banking runs on this. The entire insurance runs on this, right? The entire, and even in insurance, the entire general insurance, life insurance, right? It's all run on this. So there are so many use case and example scenarios which we can refer to. Now let's come to video conferencing. Now video conferencing is something which has, again, we all are very acquainted with this, right? Advantages, advantages we are very, very familiar with, right? Advantages में आप देखें तो, of course, face to face interactions है. अब meetings में जो अभी जैसे हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया, cost सेविंग हो जाता है, टाइम सेविंग. डिसएडवांटेजेस में इसमें जैसे कोई टेक्निकल इश्यू आ गया, दैट कैन बी वन ऑफ द रीजंस, राइट. नंबर टू पे कोई ऐसा नॉन वर्बल क्यूज है, कुछ ऐसा विच बिकम्स अ लिटिल टफ. एंड देन कभी कभी डिजिटल फटीग डेवलप हो जाता है, राइट. एंड यू आर कंसिस्टेंटली ऑन 1 2 3 4, एंड देन वी डेवलप अ डिजिटल फटीग वेयर it leads to distraction, it leads to lack of attention, focus, and so on and so forth. So that's the part of video conferencing. Best practices, I think we all are familiar with this, right? And even in this, lot of collaboration, team collaboration is something which we are very, very familiar. Now, this is something which I was really interested to touch upon, and this is the social media. Now, I'm assuming even जो ये हमारा एक almost 1.5 months से चल रहा है, social media has been discussed, and I know it, right, for a reason, and it has been discussed quite in detail. There are very seasoned veterans who, as speakers, who came and who delivered keynote speeches on this social media. So I know we all are very, very familiar with this, right? Now, when it comes to business communication, what are those impetus which social media adds, right? Number one, of course, professional networking. Right? और जब मैं बात करते हैं अपन professional networking की, I think we can all attribute this to the scale and the size which any enterprise can add up or look for when it comes to using LinkedIn or any other professional networking site, right? It has a global reach, right? And you can reach out to any client, any customer across the globe, right? Brand communication, because it speaks volumes in terms of what are the products, what are the services, what are your employees, what are your policies, company policies, everything for that matter, how it is all placed and how are you approaching to all this, right? So professional networking may largely, when it comes to professional networking, it gives you an edge to reach out globally, and there's a lot of thought leadership which of course empowers you when it comes to professional networking, right? With the kind of leadership belt which you have, I think that adds a lot of value. And brand communication, as we said, right? Customer engagement, policies, brand awareness, brand sensitivity, all these advocacy, all these are important factors redefining your brand strategy, your brand perception, your brand image, your brand equity, security. All these are important element when it comes to this. And LinkedIn's role in professional networking. Again, we all must be using LinkedIn as a platform, and we all must be aware about what role LinkedIn plays in today's digital age for any enterprises, to whether it is an employee, whether it is a partner, or whether it is any external stakeholder or internal stakeholder, whether you are a CEO of a company or whether you are the frontline sales professional, right? Everybody has the access to the same quantity of information, so much of transparency, so much of honesty when it comes to this, right? Then the project management tools. Now, project management tools, as I mentioned, Trello का एक example मैंने दिया था. Trello and Asana, and these are largely used for your task management, right, by the enterprises. How to manage your tasks, how to micromanage each of the sub tasks which are there in those tasks, checklists, attachments, and then it enables you to integrate at the back end with most of the internal micromanagement which you are supposed to do when it comes to project management for any product or service in which you are dealing with, so that it becomes empowering. And it also, so these are project management tools, and again किसी भी digital age communication में ये बहुत ही effective और efficiently use हो रहे हैं nowadays. Now let's check on the benefits of digital communication. Three things which we can see here is efficiency and speed, global reach, and cost savings, right? Now, let's quickly check up on the challenges of digital communication. And challenges is something which number one, information overload, right? And it happens with most of us in terms of email, messages, notifications. Second, without a doubt, security and privacy concerns, right? जितना ये एम्पलीफाई हो रहा है, उतना ही डेटा ब्रीचेस हो रहे हैं, उतने ही कंप्लायंस important होता जा रहा है. And because of which ये field, when it comes to security and privacy concern, it is because अगर आप बैंक की BFSI space देखें, there are so many RBI guidelines which will have to adhere to as an enterprise who is operating the BFSI space, right? So इसमें काफी investment जाता है, right, for any enterprises operating into this space, because वो सारे security and privacy standards वो meet up करने होते हैं. And because of this reason, आप अगर आप किसी भी मोबाइल डिवाइस पे हैं, तो आप देखिए कितने फ्रिक्वेंटली आजकल नए iOS आ रहे हैं विद बग फिक्सेस, राइट? तो आप iOS पॉप करिए, नया iOS आया, व्हाट इज दैट? बग फिक्सेस, राइट? इट इज जस्ट बिकॉज जितनी जल्दी रैंप अप सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स होते हैं, उतनी जल्दी ही दिस नीड्स अपग्रेड, एंड दीज आर द अपग्रेड्स व्हिच वी हैव टू कंटिन्यूअसली डू, right, on it. And maintaining a personal connection is, again, it comes because of limited face-to-face interactions, right? Because most of the time you're in messaging or on email, right? It becomes a little tough for you, right, to have that personal touch to whatever communication which you are establishing or maintaining with any individual, right, for that matter. Okay, now best practices as far as this is concerned is, of course, clear, concise messaging, active listening and feedback, and regular updates. So there are not much elaborations, I think, and I assume that is needed for most of the participants, dignitaries who are a part of the session, right? These are very, very clear. अब देखते हैं future trends. अब नए जो digital communications के texture form जिस तरह से evolve हो रहे हैं, उसमें at least number one पे it is AI and machine learning. And AI and machine learning, now these are two which are revolutionizing the complete digital communications, because both AI and ML is enhancing personalization. Then the VR and the AR, both of these technologies, they are creating immersive digital experience in most of the industries in which we are experiencing, right? Then third, and that the blockchain for secure communication. And this is a technology which is kind of which is offering a more decentralized and a more secure communication channel. That's on the future trends and right preparing for the future. इसमें अगर अगर हम देखें तो continuous learning and adaptation, right? The point is that every enterprise, whether it's a startup, new age, conglomerates, giant, large cap, middle cap, mid cap, small cap, all we need to have that urge of and show that resilience and flexibility in order to make those policy changes to adopt and absorb any changes we are experiencing in the space in which we are operating. And last but not the least is building a digital first communication strategy, right? As we proceed from here on, it's very, very important that whether it comes to email, social media, video conference, any other means of communication, we need to have a digital first communication strategy. The idea is that when we are ensuring a seamless communication across the length and the breadth of the ecosystem, that will for sure add a lot of efficiency and efficacy in what we are doing, whether it is in a product or service, right? We, as an enterprise, we will be able to kind of reach out to our every stakeholder more efficiently and effectively. So on that note, we are done with today's session.